Risual's digital service designs reimagine the future of public services. They provide a holistic, end-to-end review of a service that an organization provides to its customers. The public sector is facing an unprecedented challenge, with reducing budgets and increasing customer expectations and needs. Traditional approaches to delivering savings and service improvements often focus on areas such as efficient processes, use of technology, and ensuring organizations have the right staff that are motivated and skilled. Whilst all these things are important, they are the wrong place to start. There is little benefit in providing an efficient and technologically advanced service if it doesn't deliver what the customer needs. A common consequence of services not being designed around customers is they don't meet the customer's needs, and leads to high failure demand. This is customer contact that could have been avoided if something hadn't gone wrong, or the customer didn't feel the need to make contact. For example, a council tax letter that gets sent out and is hard to understand, and leads to hundreds of avoidable calls from customers. It is not unusual for failure demand in public sector organizations to be over 40% of all customer contact. When you consider, it often takes longer to correct something that has gone wrong than to do it right the first time. This is a significant amount of staff time wasted. Digital service designs redesign the service around the customer, driving out failure demand, streamlining processes and eliminating waste, identifying opportunities to transform the service using technology. It empowers organizations to provide joined-up, efficient services, reducing costs whilst increasing customer satisfaction and staff morale. Digital service designs start by agreeing the scope of the review with the client. This includes understanding what the service does, the challenges faced, and desired outcomes from its transformation. A redesign team is also formed, with representatives from across the services delivery chain. Work is then carried out with the redesign team to define what the customer wants from the service, along with wider organizational objectives. Define the service looks at how the service is currently set up and performs. It assesses current performance against agreed objectives, reviews service demand, maps processes, and captures service costs. Analyze the why, gets to the root of why the service behaves the way it does. It analyzes what impacts on performance, opportunities for transformation, and the time and costs associated with failure demand and waste. During reimagine and redesign proposals and business cases are produced that enable the service to meet objectives, remove failure and waste, identify continual improvement, and opportunities to transform. Let's imagine a digital service design in practice. Sally is the head of environmental services for a district council. She is responsible for a range of services, such as refuse collection and recycling, parks and open spaces, as well as services such as pest control. To meet the budget targets, she has cut down staff, which has led to a reduced service for residents, particularly in rural locations. Some of the services within the department have the potential to generate income, such as pest control, but currently are failing to cover their running costs. The head of customer services informed Sally that since the cutbacks she'd made, the customer services team have had a sharp increase in the number of calls it is receiving, and is struggling to deal with the demand. Sally's team is also struggling to respond to the volume of work, and the number of customer complaints is increasing. To exacerbate the situation, morale across the customer service and environmental service departments is at an all-time low. Sally appoints Risual to work closely with her department to review 3 of her services: pest control, flight tipping and public litter bins, focusing on rural areas. During the objectives and outcomes stage, the redesign team identifies what matters most to the customers of each of the services. For pest control, customers want the pest removed promptly, with minimal disruption, and for it to be charged at a reasonable cost. Flight tipping customers simply want it removed promptly. And users of the litter bin just want there to always be room in the bin to put litter. During the define stage, the redesign team looked at how the pest control service was performing. They discovered 80% of customer contact was avoidable and caused by failure demand. There was a high volume of repeat calls from customers. The pest control often required multiple visits, needing the customer to be home. The service was also expensive. During Analyze the Why stage, the redesign team looked at why the service was performing in the way it was. They discovered the customer services team had targets around how long customer calls should take. This had taken the focus off providing a good service, onto finishing the call quickly. Due to rushing the call and lack of training, insufficient information was being passed on to the pest control officer from customer services to understand the issue. This meant the pest control officer was sometimes unprepared when he arrived. For example, he may need a longer ladder to reach a wasp nest. The pest control officers were often difficult to get hold of to update them on changes, or additional appointments. They would sometimes be late for appointments, or miss them, due to lack of travel time given between destinations by customer services. Traps were checked daily to see if rodents had been caught. This incurred high fuel costs, and significant officer time traveling. When the redesign team looked at how flight tipping was performing, they discovered 60% of customer contact was avoidable due to failure demand. There were significant delays in removing flight tipping, and a high volume of repeat calls from customers. Customer service targets were again affecting the service. Insufficient information was often received on the location of flight tipping due to vague customer descriptions, and the customer service agent being in too much of a rush to firm up the location. Flight tipping incidents were often incorrectly closed, because the officers were unable to locate it due to the vague location and being under pressure to hit their own targets of jobs to be completed for the day. Calls from multiple customers, reporting flight tipping in similar locations, would lead to some being incorrectly ignored, or the same issue being visited more than once. When the redesign team looked at litter bins in rural locations, they discovered they were getting a high volume of calls reporting overflowing bins, all of which were failure demand. The issue was caused by the reduction in the frequency of visits to rural locations to empty litter bins. Officers were reluctant to increase the frequency of visits, as it is a long way to travel and the bins were often not full. The redesigned proposals for the three services were grouped under three headings. The first set of proposals related to resetting the focus of the service. Service and team objectives were developed that are focused on providing a good service, not rushing it. Dashboards and reports were proposed that displayed performance data, types of demand, and the demand location on maps. Teams can then use this information as part of continuous improvement and proactive planning. The second set of proposals was focused around ensuring accurate data is gathered up front. This included the customer service team being trained to understand the information they need to gather to enable the department delivering the service to complete the request successfully. The CRM and online forms should be set up to prompt for the information required by the department delivering the service. An app, developed by Risual, that uses GPS positioning to report a range of service requests, including flight tipping. The app would show any existing issues reported on a map, along with their status. This would enable the customer to see if the issue has already been reported. The customer services team will also have access to this mapping information, for when they take requests by phone or in person. The final set of proposals was focused on removing non-productive work and waste. The proposals included integrating IT systems to remove manual work and double keying. Introduce mobile technology, enabling officers to automatically be routed to their next job and have access to the information they need. This would remove the need for regular trips to the office and ensure they have up-to-date information and changes. Move from schedule to demand-based working, using sensors on rural litter bins and rodent traps to alert the council when they need attention. This will remove the need for 24-hour checks on traps. Reduce mileage and save staff time by introducing cross-functional, area-based teams. For example, officers that can empty a litter bin whilst responding to a pest issue nearby. benefits from implementing the proposals would include happier customers as the service is meeting their needs, reduced workload and financial savings, improved staff morale as they now feel empowered to provide good service, have less complaints, have confidence in the service being provided, able to use team meetings to review service performance and suggest improvements. Increased income generation, the council is able to offer a better service at a more competitive cost. Stronger governance. Dashboards would have been set up to report key service information to understand performance and empower team to drive continuous improvement. Risual's digital service designs provide public services an opportunity to drive down costs, whilst ensuring customers get what they need.